know that sound. She takes me back to my favorite notes, laying on my back, listening for hours and feeling slack. Here's the heartbeat of a killer track.
Joni Mitchell's Coyote is one of her two strongest songs. The other one is The Circle Game, though the best performance of that is by Buffy St. Marie.
And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down.
I prefer her particular delivery. However, Coyote is undoubtedly best sung by Joni Mitchell herself, something I say about pretty much none of her songs, as I am not partial to her music and performance. I prefer CSNY's Woodstock, for example.
Maybe it's the time of year. Maybe it's the time of man.
And I definitely prefer the Byrds version of Drugstore Truck Driving Man. But I am not here to talk about that. I am here to express my admiration for this one particular song. There are two great places to see the evolution of this song. The first is her playing part of the song during the film about the Rolling Thunder Revue.
Joni wrote this song about this tour, and on this tour, and for this tour.
Bob Dylan's tour of small halls, which was also somehow the making of a symbolist movie. It's no Jean Cocteau, though, I can tell you that. But of all the things that came from Dylan dragging everyone he wanted to around on tour, this specific song about her relationship during the tour with Sam Shepard is perhaps the best thing to emerge. Being about fleeting moments, connections that break down, this song is up there with the Who's Athena in the canon of intense connections that immediately self-destruct and burn down.
No regrets, Coyote. We just come from such different sets of circumstances.
For Townshend, his encounter with a real-life Athena was like an immediate falling in love, but so destructive that the woman he's enamored of is called a bomb. Kind of like the farmhouse that burns down in verse 2 of Coyote. Everything in such songs is a passion that is so completely destructive. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The song tells the story of a Joni-like narrator who encounters a man called Coyote. She feels the connection intensely, almost like he's family.
And still feel so alone, and still feel related.
She sings, but they are different people, even living different lives. The Joni character is nocturnal while Coyote is at least semi-diurnal. They pass each other like so many cars passing by a hitchhiker on the freeway.
You just picked up a hitcher, a prisoner of the white lines on the freeway.
But even that is a trap. And this is a song about people whose intense connections, them trying to find a way out, trying to find a way to freedom. Verse 2 starts with a farmhouse burning down, a symbol of passion. The flirtation is so hot, so fiery, so incredibly destructive. The two characters, the narrator and the Coyote, share a moment as the local band plays.
Till we came to some roadside lights, and a local band was playing. Locals were mincing and shaking on the floor.
The scene is a seedy roadhouse. It's a movement. It's a moment. It's passion. Dance is sex, and sex is hot, burning, and a little violent. Coyote is a predator after all. Otherwise, he wouldn't have that animalistic name. There's a troubling moment there where he won't take no. It certainly seems like he's tracking her, like he's watching her. It's not a healthy connection, but it happens anyway, despite the fact that Coyote is said to have a woman at home and another down the hall. Neither he nor the narrator at this moment care, but then that statement
He seems to want me anyway.
is undercut with regret for the moment.
Why'd you have to get so drunk and lead me on that way?
Verse 3 continues and compares the man coyote to the animal coyote, suggesting that they are indeed the same type of predatory creature. An amazing show of interlaced alliteration occurs next, as Joni's lyrics here do what Zappa took an entire movie to do.
I thought I recognized it.
She shows the way that touring makes musicians crazy. She says,
Privately probing the public rooms, peeking through keyholes in numbered doors, where the players lick their wounds and take their temporary lovers and their pills and powders to get them through this passion play.
in addition to the repeated P and K sounds that emphasize everything happening so privately, our narrator uncovers that the connections made on the road, those between her and Coyote, those made between bandmates and tour companions and groupies, are just like the effects of pills and powders, simply temporary. It's a passion play. It's pretend in her estimation. That means we're playing about with this passion. It is not real. It ends the moment we get off the road, and passion play also invokes suffering for a religious revelation or to absolve sins. So it's no surprise that the next thing our narrator says is no regrets, Coyote, which she led with her thesis at the top of the song. This is dark, impassioned, doomed romance, meant to happen, fated, and meant for our characters to move on from. And that is what the next verse does. It is clear that Coyote and our narrator made it in some form. After all, Coyote is described the next morning staring at the waitresses, perhaps plotting another hunt, and
He picks up my scent on his fingers while he's watching the waitress's legs.
picking up my scent on his fingers. Coyote has to decide what he wants to do. Does he want to fight or does he want to flight? The song implies that he'll fly away from this relationship onto another. Our narrator understands too. She said she's also run away to wrestle with her ego. She also calls herself an Eskimo, suggesting that she was a cold person, a closed off kind of person, except that this darkly fiery romance has ignited a flame in her cold heart. But it all just leads to more white lines on the freeway. Could that be a cocaine reference? Of course it could, but it's more than that. Our Joni-like narrator must also, like Coyote, move on down the road. It's the romance of a certain moment, of a certain time period and a certain night. It is one of the best songs of all time, covering the intense moments of attraction we feel for people that are bad for us but necessary, and the realization we need to move on. And while the album version and a later Shadows and Light version are great and feature the inimitable Jaco Pastorius on bass, my preference is for the version on the last waltz. It really cooks along and makes me at least feel the sense of movement. Every action is fast and flaming, like the farmhouse that burns down in that second verse, like getting up in the morning and having to go to the next show, to the next town, and keep moving on. But there's also a potential missing from this song, which is that it needs a cover. It needs a cover sung by a male voice. Because for all the personal Joni Mitchell life-based information in the song, this idea of an intense attraction can be made deeper by being made queer. Lines like picking up my scent and he's got a woman at home and a woman down the hall become much more complicated and intricate if Coyote becomes not just the straight semi-predatory character of Mitchell's original. Like the way that the Raincoats version of Lola transforms and improves on the original, as Andrea Lawler argues, and Paul takes the form of a mortal girl.
She picked me up and set me on her knee and said, "Little boy, won't you come on with me?"
A version that gender swaps the narrator finds new depth. Coyote then is a straight appearing man who is chasing after anything and anyone romantic and sexual and impassioned. The danger is then as apparent as so many straight but looking men on Grindr. This potential gender swap version of Coyote queers the narrative by making it even messier, allowing listeners to consider their own relationship with same-sex attraction. It opens the story of the song up to even more people. So, in summation, Coyote is a song that deserves to be in the pantheon of the truly great songs, and I hope someone takes up my challenge to complete a male-voiced cover. This has been The Killer Track. I am What Rough Beast, and if you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll do all those usual YouTube things. Or just wire me money. I like money. It buys me things. Like a pet coyote, maybe.